Second.
A motion and a second to approve. Any questions or concerns? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Okay. We've got, we're going to be hearing needs lists this evening, and we have a list here in order of who's going to be presenting, and we'll start with HR. We'll come to the microphone.
So the first thing I am requesting is line 399, other contracted services, increased by 9480. And that is for an HRIS system for the HR department. The system will help us to maintain and track the entire employee life cycle in all positions filled and vacant. We currently do not have an HRIS system. So that is why I'm asking for that. The next item is line 524, in-service staff development, increased by 2,500. That's registration fees for training, conferences, specifically for the Public Risk Management Association and SHRM, so I can attend those conferences. And line item 355, travel, increased by 2,500, and that is to cover flight, hotel, and per diem for those conferences. And I've given you plenty of backup information under there for each item.
Anyone on the committee have questions?
When you say that you had not been to a training conference,
SHRM, Society of Human Resources Management.
Any other questions?
Overlap between what your software system will be and what our system.
No, they do not. My benefits channel, which is the documentation you have under there, does not do position budgeting as you guys discussed.
Aaron, you have any problem?
No, I just wanted to be clear that one does not substitute for the other.
All we're doing this evening is accepting the needs list. We're not voting to approve or anything like that. So if there's not any more questions, anybody make a motion to accept the list?
Motion.
Is that second? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, county attorney, election commission.
So I have been the election commission since 2011. We've never come before you to ask for any money since that time. Obviously, we've grown a lot in the time that we've been here. So all I'm asking for in this budget is just to increase poll worker pay. We have a really good core of poll workers, but I want to keep that. And the only way we can have elections is to have really good poll workers. So this will increase their pay. You can see the comparison, the average, low, and high. The high is very skewed because it's Shelby County. So I heard from about 65 counties out of 95, so pretty good group of counties. So this is, I think this would put us where we need to be in order to retain poll workers and then recruit new poll workers. So poll workers are key to all of the elections that we have. So and keep in mind, whatever we don't use out of this line goes back into the general fund, so.
Any questions?
Motion to accept.
Have a motion and a second to accept. All in favor, say aye.
Thank you.
Okay, register of deeds.
But I think we've got one as well. Well, I'm here tonight, and I'm only asking for one thing, and you're looking at your electronic. So the last server we purchased was in 2013, and BIS is urging us to get a new server because our life expectancy for the one we have is 6 to 8 years, and we've reached 10 years. And if it fails, we fail. And so to keep that from happening, the new server will help with that, and they will install it during the night. Now, we'll stay with them through the night, and they will be here the next morning to make sure everything is running smooth and the girls are good. That's all I have. I hope you approve it, and if you have any questions, I don't mind answering anything. Pardon? The old server? I'm sure they'll take it. I don't know. I mean, we've been having some issues, but whether it's the server or whether it's other things, who knows? But I do know if we go down, that's a lot of issues. And so, but I will ask that question. What happens with the other one? So they'll build this one. If we approve it, they'll build it, come in after hours, install. I will be here with them, and they'll be here the next morning to make sure it runs smooth. So, any questions?
Any other questions?
Motion to accept.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Thank you. Planning?
I have two budgets. First one I'm presenting is the Building Inspection Codes and Zoning Division. And if you'll turn to page 3, the first couple of pages are a little bit of background about what we've been up to and what we're planning on doing. But our needs requests start about halfway down page 3. We're asking for $2,500 increase in dues and memberships. That's to account for additional inspectors being members of TBOA and a couple of building officials societies that they are required to be members of in order to keep up with their continuing education requirements. Line item 336, maintenance and repair of office equipment. We were asking to add $2,000 to fund software licensure cost increases for GIS software that's used in the Codes and Zoning Division. Line item 349, additional printing cost. We're asking to add $500 there. It's just because we're noticing we're running a little lean on the number of prints we're having to do in light of the business that we're undertaking within that department. Line item 425 is a fuel line item. We're asking to add $2,000 to that. Line item 435 is office supplies. We're asking to add $1,000 there. And then I should go back and tell you the fuel costs are going to increase just from the standpoint that we have started doing commercial codes. We've also started doing codes inspections of accessory structures, which prior to this previous year, we did not do a lot of accessory structure codes inspections. Those are all as required by the residential code. The commercial codes will also have travel associated with them. There's a large item here, adding $150,000 for installation of new permitting software. That is an estimate, but it would be an implementation of a digitally based permitting software as described in item D of the background information listed on the first couple of pages. Line item 524, in-service and staff development, again, that's for continuing ed, adding $2,000 so that they can go to their conference. In terms of a new position, I do have a position for a trained zoning inspector. Given increased workloads on the side of zoning enforcement and the need for private individuals to respect the authority of the inspector visiting their property on a zoning violation, I would like to find an individual with specific training whose responsibility would be to undertake zoning enforcement responsibilities. This position is very much a work in progress, and I have been seeking advice from fellow department heads and other departments on how to best formulate the job description and responsibilities. I would also need to work closely with the county attorney and HR to develop the job description fully. The overall vision would be for this individual to initially begin leading zoning enforcement efforts, from following up on zoning complaints via initial inspection and progress inspections to drafting and sending violation letters, while also acting as a county representative in resultant court proceedings. So those are two pretty big lists: the installation of the permitting software to kind of get us into the 21st century. With regard to codes inspections, most of our fellow cities and counties already work off of a tablet-based system for their inspections. We do not currently do that. We're still paper to pen. We are taking pictures of our inspections to make sure that we have good communication in the office. I would be remiss if I didn't ask for cost of living and pay plan related adjustments. I think all of our employees would appreciate that. And specific to that, in the way of trying to maintain my current staff, I know y'all talked a lot about losing people in the sheriff's office last year and in WEMA and in other departments. At the same time, I've been sort of quietly dealing with that as well. In fact, I'm hiring a new position, or I've hired a new position to start on the 31st. One thing that I think could help is to establish a budget for a building inspector 3 position for my inspectors, and I would effectively be able to promote up as those inspectors met those qualifications and proved that they could do the job for building inspector 1, building inspector 2, or building inspector 3. At present, we have a building inspector's position, which is effectively a building inspector 1's position. The pay range, starting pay range would, after talking with HR about this and getting the pay consultant to do a study on building and zoning, or building codes and zoning inspector 1, codes and zoning inspector 2, and codes and zoning inspector 3, ranges from $27.31 an hour to $34.38 an hour. Beyond that, again, I think the remainder of the positions, the chief building official, the chief deputy zoning administrator, and the counter liaisons that we have would all appreciate some consideration for pay adjustments.
On the needs list that we have, the additional zoning inspector has a amount beside it of $62,571.60. But underneath that, it has all the Social Security, retirement insurance. Are those numbers below it in addition to that number?
That I do not know the answer to. I think they're in addition to it.
So we're talking about something closer to 80,000 instead of 60,000.
Yes, sir.
Is there, concerning code compliance, is there any other questions for Tom?
Okay, so looking at the sheet, what's the 40,000 that you talked about? This sheet, I got it on the list.
40,000 for.
It's in with 150,000, Mayor.
What 40,000 are you referring to?
It's it has to do with the digitally based permitting software. 40,000 of that is recurring and 110 is one time.
Yes, that's correct. I was, and those are estimates. Thinking 40,000 would be for,
And the zoning inspector.
Yes, that's right.
You're gonna take that one inspector that you have and add salary to that and making it 3 instead of 1.
well, not automatically. It would be as they meet the criterion for a building inspector, building and codes and zoning inspector 1, codes and zoning inspector 2, and codes and zoning inspector 3, as defined in conjunction with the work I've been able to do with Kiana's consultant.
So I have 2 building inspectors.
I got a chief building official and a building inspector. I've got 2 building inspectors positions, that's correct.
So you're gonna take this money and add to them as they earn the credit, and you can move them both.
Yes, in an effort to try to have some incentive to keep them here instead of training them up. Many of them that we hire, we're having to train them, and they have a year to meet the qualifications, but I've had at least 2 recently within 6 months of getting their qualifications as building inspector. They've flown the coop. We've also added a contractual obligation with this most recent hire, requiring that they pay it back if they leave within a certain time period, is what our hope is. Pay back the education cost.
So is this given when we initiate the pay plan this time, or sometime during the year you may decide to give that raise?
I would think it would be during the year, unless you guys direct me otherwise. I'm really open. I'll do it either way that makes sense to you as a commission.
I mean, to our office, when somebody gets a raise, everybody knows about it. Everybody in there too.
I understand.
That in between stuff, that's kind of all into the pay plan, so we kind of get.
Okay. I mean, we could do it.
That helps us.
We could do it at one time a year. That's fine.
So do you need all of that? Or this
Well, I
year,
think-
next year, after some more?
I personally think it would be better to go on and have the amount there. That way, who knows, we may get a codes and zoning inspector 3 if we lose a person, come in and apply for the job. So that was sort of my thoughts, was to go on and have the money there.
Motion be approved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor say aye. Not approved, except.
Come on, my planning one is much less complex. We've just got a lot of things going on that we're trying to improve in the codes and zoning world, in terms of getting our technology up to snuff and everything else. I am asking for an additional $50,000 in line item 308 in planning. This request is to assist with special projects that are continually coming up as requested by the County Commission, County Planning Commission, and other agencies, some of which we're obligated under state law to respond to, with additional work on the part of the county planning staff. And I can name some of those types of projects if I need to. Obviously, each of these types of studies or projects cannot happen simultaneously, even with this needs request being granted. However, increasing the consultant line item by $50,000 will bring the total line item to just over $250,000. Just for reference, we're going to spend approximately $200,000 in total, $210,000 in total on the land use plan, if and when we get that completed. The other items that we have a postal charge increase that we're asking for of $1,000, a travel increase of $2,000. We do have an additional staff inspector that's joined our staff, or staff planner, I should say. We also have a increased request in office supplies of $1,000. That's for things like paper and printing cost. In-service staff development, again, because of the addition of an additional planner that's required to get continuing education credits. We're asking for an additional $2,000 there. And again, with payroll, we would just appreciate anything that you guys can do in the way of the pay plan or other cost adjustments.
Any questions or comments?
So when we get that line of 250, we finish the land use plan, it's not, we want to review that for a while. Is it one-time money for that?
Well, I mean, my personal opinion, we've got enough things that come up, whether it's drainage studies or whether it's something that I think was actually in the last land use plan update that we've still not gotten around to, which would have been the updating of the zoning ordinance, things like that, that we may need some consulting assistance with.
We've done the comp plan, efficiency, land use plan, we talked about traffic care study.
Yes.
Flood study, and creating money
Yes.
to,
And-
trying to know what next thing would be for that.
The- The only other thing would be, and you may actually get, what I'm about to talk about, you may actually be able to get reimbursed by the development community for this. However, we would need some money to start from if we ever choose to consult with someone to do a traffic study on our behalf for projects or for development. Yes. I haven't,
It's recurring, it's not.
yes, I should wait till y'all finish with your questions.
Is there a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second.
Need a motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
I have the capital outlays. I didn't know if y'all were accepting those tonight or not, the 5-year capital outlay plan.
You accepted those.
Okay, all right, thank you. Huh?
Turn in your budget.
Yes. Thank you, guys. Have a good day.
Here we go.
This year, county buildings, we're looking at some increases in some requested amounts from our 399 other contracted services line, $45,000. That's for additional costs for contracts with the new jail and our buildings. 410 is custodial supplies, just constantly seeing price increases in that and custodial products. 452 utilities, with the new jail expansion coming on. Looking to increase that line by $85,000 to cover those utilities for next year. I'm asking for maintenance personnel for here, mainly for here, but we'll be using some at the jail also. Just going to cover our buildings. We're going to have two new buildings coming on, 2 new EMA stations we're going to have to get out to, so additional employee for there. Building improvements, additional $10,000. Trying to make some improvements in some of our old WEMA stations, update some of them a little bit. And then motor vehicles, line 718, funds needed to purchase and replace a vehicle for the department. And then 412 is a new line item for the backup generators, off-road diesel, $40,000 to start that line out. We have a 4,800 gallon tank and a 2,000 gallon tank. And that's it for county buildings.
Just a comment on this one, that 10,000 for building improvements will go to one time, since it's something we talked about.
Yes.
One time expenditure, you know, slide over.
Is it one-time money or not?
One-time money.
So it should be another car?
Correct.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions or comments? With motion and a second to accept, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
AIT.
This year, IT is asking for an increase in line 103. to bring Corey Watson from 35 hours to 40 hours. And that's because normally after hours now, Aaron Wilson handles all those calls. And we run into issues when Aaron's out or is on vacation or what have you. Normally I take those calls and I have no problem with that. However, I live an hour away, so I end up having the same conversation on the phone with everyone who calls. I'll be there, it's just unfortunately I'm an hour away. So Corey lives right here in town. We can work that right into his schedule and off he goes. Asking for an increase on line 399, other contracted. That's just the Microsoft licenses have gone up by 8,000 this year, just to reflect the increase in cost. Asking for an increase in line 307, and there's still a little bit I need to discuss with Aaron Maynard about that, about the communication lines, but we fell short in our communication line this year, and that's just reflect the change. Also, we got a new telephone system a year ago, and we're still trying to tie the leftover buildings that are still on the old phone system to the new one, so just the cost to cover that. Line 524 in staff development, asking for an increase there. The entire IT department, we're all taking classes. However, we never actually sit for the certifications because the testing is too expensive. And this is something that I want to put out. If they want to, if any of us want to sit for the test, that we pay for the first test only. And if it doesn't get taken advantage of, it goes back to general funds or however. I just like to give the opportunity to actually take the certification testing. Line 309, I'm sorry, line 709, asking for that increase. We have a couple of buildings that are well behind technologically speaking. Namely, Animal Control, the dump, they don't even have wired internet. They actually have a hotspot, and we're running into issues when there's inclement weather and things like that. And also, that they're kind of behind in security standpoint. So basically asking the funds to bring them up to snuff. Asking for funds for the voting system upgrade. The current voting system for the commissioners, it was installed in October 2005. And we've done a lot to keep it going, and it's no longer supported by the company anymore. So I mean, pretty much everything that we're doing now is our own knowledge and praying. So we're actually hoping to just replace it with something more modern. Asking for increase for physical security. We share space in certain buildings with people. And what we're running into is when they have issues themselves, of course, turn it off, turn it back on. They're unplugging everything and plugging it back in, which throws everyone off. So we like to segment the IT equipment away from everyone else's and lock it down to where it can't be disturbed. Last thing is expo upgrades. And again, I've got to get with Mr. Maynard. Not really sure if where that would come from, but the plan is to basically remodel the expo after the Tennessee building. Also, we need additional equipment for the Tennessee building. In the original build out, we were hoping to have cameras at every door around the building, and somehow that kind of got. We feel we've already had an incident where someone stole something at a show, and when the police came over, we're having to look at cameras, and it's in a blind spot, and that shouldn't be. So we're hoping to get all those areas covered. That's it.
Can't remember, still things that we have to work out on that, but on the communication line, we increased that first one from 8,800
Yes.
to 14,800.
Yes, we did. I'm sorry. Yes, we did, and that's to reflect things that I left out. I didn't exactly make a bunch of copies, but this is actually what I left out. Basically, all I did was added that up, multiplied by 12.
Okay. If anybody wants to see these various internet and other providers.
You talking about the communications line?
Yes.
Yes, sir. He had requested that 14,800, the amount he was going to be short in fiscal year 23, and then an additional 16,000 above that. So I've got that as an actual request of 30,800 in total.
Okay, is that 16,000, is that necessary to have as a recurring expense? or
No,
not?
no, that's one time.
My bad.
Uh, So where does that go?
Put it in non-recurring.
Just the 16?
Just the 16 and then put 14.8 in the recurring line. And of course, we'll get you a cleaned up copy of this for the future.
That's my apologies. I actually left that out. I apologize.
No, no.
Okay. Any other?
Sorry. Questions on the animal control and the landfill for the IT going there? How do you get internet there?
So we can, what we're actually hoping is to take fiber there and connect it that way. And we've already spoke to the company that would do it, and they say they are capable.
I think the 500,000 we were talking about the big equipment, but that would we would let the expo bring that to us here, and that would come from their budget or capital project, whichever one they choose to do. I know they would list you to do it for them. But take it out.
Okay.
Motion to accept?
Second.
Have a motion and a second to accept. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Thank you, sir.
Thank you all so much.
Commissioner Marlowe, we need to add the clerk and master to tonight's list. There's somebody here for them, and we didn't have anything for them previously, but I believe they have something at the very end. You can add the clerk and master.
Well, at the end,
Yes, sir.
okay, county clerk. No county clerk?
Oh, I remember them saying they were not going to be able to show up tonight, and all they're asking for is increase of $16,466.72. It would be recurring. It's software and hardware annual maintenance cost for their software systems that they run.
Motion to accept?
Have a motion and a second to accept county clerk wish list. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Okay, circuit clerk.
Good evening. The first thing we wanted to ask for is 194 is jury pay and meals increase. We don't have any way of knowing how much we need actually in that line because you don't know how many juries you're going to have. We have had a lot this year, a lot more than we had in the past. Plus, when we take a criminal trial and we take them to lunch, there's 14 because there's always 2 alternates, 3 court attendants, and 2 county officers. I pay for all that. Then I send it to the state, and we got away with it for a long time. Now the state has shut us down and said, we're only going to pay for 12. Well, I had to come apart, so I called them, and I've got them up to 14 for the 2 alternates, but we have to adjust it on their bill every month. They said, just write it on there. So we are asking for $5,000 in that line. Rentals increase like everybody else is. We accept email documents now, and they have to be printed in color, so that's increasing our copier invoices a lot. Other contracted services like everybody else, and Aaron can attest, local government, I'm asking for $20,000, and as soon as we get that bill in July, that line's almost gone. So, office supplies, $435, $5,000 because our increase in our caseloads is incredible. We're paying more for binders, forms, paper products, just like everybody else. Those costs have really gone up, and we use them every day, and we have to put it on paper. And that's it. Thank you.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, ma'am. Is that racist?
That's not.
Judicial Commissioner?
Good evening, everyone. The Judicial Commissioner's Office has 2 requests tonight on the needs list. The first one is line 348. We are asking for $250 to be added to a postage line. We did not have any funding in that line in previous budgets, and it seems that throughout the year we are routinely scrambling around trying to find stamps and money to ship something or send a package or things like that for numerous different reasons. We're also asking for $3,000 to be added to our line 524, our in-service staff development. The reason for this is we're requesting to have the office, the commissioners attend training following the introduction of the new laws in July. Each year when the new laws come into effect, we are searching around to the AOC or to the Public Defender's Office or district attorneys to get copies of all the new laws that are being implemented. They're being obviously charged and enforced right away, and sometimes we have trouble finding out what they are. There are training seminars that also follow these laws, and they just give training on all the new laws and the legislative reasoning for them, and I think that would be very beneficial for the commissioners to go to the criminal law seminars. Several different agencies have them through the Bar Association, through CTAS. There's many different options. So those are the requests and the needs of the Judicial Commissioner's Office, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them if I can.
Any questions, comments?
Motion to accept.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to accept. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Juvenile Services.
So last time I was before you guys, y'all approved a full-time position for youth services for us, and we truly appreciate that. So I wanted to let you guys know we're beyond grateful. And when we presented in front of our judicial committee, I let them know that also we would be requesting our existing part-time position to transition to a full-time position. And that would entail $44,926.17 increase in our full-time employee budget, and that's subtracting what we currently have for part-time. And this would be for our SOAR coordinator. In 2021, Judge Tatum created a program called SOAR, which is a mentorship program for middle schoolers. And it has exceeded our expectations. And we at first had set a cap for 10 kids. And we currently have 18 children, and we have a waiting list. We have 2 other schools who are requesting to go into the SOAR program. And she stays stretched. I have listed all of her duties on that second page there, and I can go into that. And so we're requesting her to go full-time in order to get the program in other schools and continue on with such a great program that she has. And in addition to that, our desire is for her to become our community resource officer, and that would take on a much wider range of responsibilities for her. And it could entail things like vaping issues that we're having serious problems with, internet safety, grandparents program, website. She could take control of our website, and there's so many other programs I could go into for her to be our community resource officer. But that's what we're requesting at this time.
A motion and a second to accept. Any other questions or concerns? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. WEMA.
What? Oh, no, go ahead. Somebody said smooth. Yes, it goes smooth. All right, let me indulge everyone in the committee that as far as the department, we can do our due diligence and submitting our needs the initial needs list you had was basically, yes, our overall needs. But in looking at the whole county, which that's my downfall, I do that, and the needs of everybody, I went back and looked and kind of redone, amended the needs list that I saw fit. And that's what I handed out to you. And if you will notice from the sheet that I gave you earlier to this sheet, there is a savings of $643,195. I'm happy at that. So to go over A, which is miscellaneous, every one of those are additional for inflation and because of our fleet. We went through every line that we had that we paid bills to, from utilities all the way through, and added up what the difference is that we have in our budget now. Those are the numbers you have there. I feel that A is a must for us to keep operating. The only thing new was the sewer services for Station 3 and 10, as you can see there. And that's basically providing services for the sewer, of course, for about a year until those systems get in place, I guess, if you will. B is a logistics supervisor person. As you know, this year we will be moving our dispatch center up to the Sheriff's Department along with 911. When we do that, I will not have anybody left at Oak Street to take care of the backup 911 system. So that person will not only maintain the backup center, they will maintain the communication towers that we have, the county sirens that we have, and assist with any actions that the dispatchers or training that the dispatchers will need. Even though they're over there, they're still my people. And they'll do the staff scheduling, development, and or review of dispatch procedures for that station. So that's basically what they will do. That whole 86, as earlier, is everything included, benefits, pay. I think it was, pay-wise, I think it was $60,000 a year, and then total would be the 86. E, under equipment, this is one-time money. We're asking for a supply van. This is basically to move materials and equipment from headquarters to other stations. Currently, we're using, I don't know, I think it's a 05, maybe 89, I don't know, sheriff's car. That should have been surplus years ago, but yes. And once you put spine boards in there, you know, it goes from the back window to the front window, which is not safe. So anyway, we're requesting that. Response trucks ×3. One of these will be for the fire marshal, one for the logistics and training division, and those three will be $180,000. And look at it this way, in return, of course, we're getting a vehicle for the fire marshal, which is needed. The other vehicles that I stated, they have in excess of 256 miles, something like that. And they were 05. So, but in return for getting new vehicles for them, I'm saving another pretty much $360,000 by not purchasing new brush trucks. So my determination in that is, why put a brand new vehicle in the woods putting out fires when you can put these 05s out there that are four-wheel drive. It can have extinguishment items put on them. So that was my intent there. Software, this is for the fire marshal, and then some PIO equipment. Under D, this is Fund 118, Fire Fund, requesting an additional $140,000 increase there. And Fire Fund, asking for additional $100,000 in that one. So that pretty much completes unless you have any questions.
Question real quick.
Yes.
In reference to the response trucks and the brush trucks, I know that you had mentioned in the EMA committee. Are you going to be able to absorb that cost within your budget whenever you do the conversions of the trucks? Or will you have to come back to us for the brush trucks? So if we...
No, we won't.
Motion we accept?
I do have a question. So the one on B will stay at Oak Street.
Correct, yes.
Gotcha. And then, the materials and equipment supply van, that's gonna go to 41.5 instead of 40. And is that where you're gonna get a new vehicle?
Yes.
Gotcha. So it's materials and equipment supply van, but that's a vehicle too.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. And we're not doing the multi-passenger van?
No.
Not doing that. Gotcha. And D, that's reoccurring money, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, Health Department.
I'm asking for $161,400 so that we can match the ARP funds that the state is giving us for a total of $645,500. They're going to be used for facility upgrades and renovations. So if you look at page 3, number, sorry. That's currently what we have quoted or estimated. So we have laminated floors that we want to change out in the health department. We want to add some glass partitions for the canopy and some glass partitions for the clerical areas in the front. Right now I have 9 clerical areas and only 2 of them have spaces for documents and speaker. Everybody else has big open space and that's kind of a health, safety concern for me. And then $40,743 for an electronic sign that will replace the aluminum sign over there by the dump. That sign will allow me to post hours, services, any events that I have going on, and will be controlled through a Cammy laptop that I purchased. Go to the next page. That is a quote that we got given for laminated flooring for the whole health department, and it is each office and how much it will cost. That includes the demolition and the hauling away from all the tile and all the included work. The page after that, this is my mistake. When we got the immunizations contracts from the state, the $92,000, I should have added 10 grand more to it so we can include a large windbreak on both sides. I'm asking to use 10 grand to put glass on all of it. The picture after that shows what I'm talking about. So currently I only have glass on this side of the canopy. I want to add glass right here and right here. My train of thought is this allows us to have 2 vehicles for vaccinating people in case we have a pandemic or something like that. If we have inclement weather, the people who are vaccinating the vehicle on the front will be getting wet. If we have glass right there, which is 10 grand total, we'll have all that awning and canopy covered, and our staff will be protected, or National Guard, whoever it is down there. The next picture shows what I was talking about with the critical area partitions. That's about $4,000 right there. And then the next page is how much it costs, the invoice. And then I included a sketch that Wet Sign sent me. This is an estimate, obviously, but it's going to be a 12-foot sign by 8 feet tall. It'll be, like I said, it'll replace the aluminum sign that's delivered by the landfill. We have a lot of people who don't even know where we're at because that sign's kind of, outdated. But I'm hoping this will kind of let people know where we're at, and let us communicate outreach events, because that's one of my biggest dilemmas. Me and Mayor Harden have discussed it. The community doesn't even know what we're offering or what event we're doing, so I'm hoping this can change that and bring some light to that. And the last page is the RN station. Me and Robert worked together. And we had an architect come over and kind of look at our RN station. And this is what the sign that we picked. So right now, like I mentioned last time, the RNs have to work like this, and the patients walk, and whatever they're working on, people can see that. This will allow us to have an actual RN station like the hospitals do, where they're working facing the hallway, and their computers are being blocked, and it has glass on the sides, gives them privacy. Yeah. So these things are some things that me and Robert and the staff have identified that we're going to use the money for. Everything else is probably going to go for cubicles that we're going to purchase, furniture, and the renovation of a storage room, breaking it down, adding some shelves to it. I'm currently using a kitchen for storage, and it's gonna be taxed. So I'm gonna convert it, get the wood kitchen to storage, and go back to a small kitchen. Even though the state purchased a 12 by 20 shed for me, I can't put stuff in there that has to be climate controlled. Yeah.
All these improvements will be within the 161,400.
Yes, sir.
That would go with the 400 something from the state for the full grant.
Definitely, yeah. And I know you guys already have the 5-year plan, but the 5-year letter kind of goes more into what we're talking about, what the money's going to be used for. So I want to make this package so you guys have a better picture as to what I'm talking about, as opposed to use a 5-year plan.
We appreciate that, thank you.
Yes, sir. Any questions?
Motion to accept.
Second.
Motion and a second to accept. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And clerk and master?
My name is Kelly Clemens. I'm the bookkeeper for the clerk and master's office. Nellie cannot be here today. She has shingles. So she asked me to come and speak to you. We're only asking for a line increase in item Q3400-719, which is our office equipment. It has been $2,678 for as long as I can remember, and I've been there 8 years. Like the other offices, we have a server that's running on Windows 2012, and we have been told that this October, Microsoft will no longer support it. So attached is a proposal that we have received from local government replace that for $8,800. We are asking this increase, though, to be recurring because that would help us rotate out some of our old equipment. I've listed down here that earlier this year, we had 2 computers, one of them which was mine, that I came in on Monday morning and it was black. It had crashed. So we had to replace 2 computers, and that took 70% of the funds we have. And that was for the whole year. Earlier, I guess it was late last year, we were tasked with getting a wheel depository set up. And that cost us $3,000 to buy a safe in order to put the wheels in. Well, we only had $2,600 for equipment. So we had to go to another line item. And also, we've got a retriever that's 20 years old. They don't even make retrievers anymore. We're lucky we have it. It's still in condition. And if it were to go down, we're looking at lateral files, and they can cost anywhere from $700 to $900, and we would need those. And I've also showed you that we've had an increase in probate filings in the last 5 years, and with that comes more lateral filing cabinets, more racking systems to hold the files, and to be quite honest, I don't see that letting up in our probate office. So, any questions?
So you're asking for?
We're asking it to go from $2,678 to $12,000. Now, the first year, yeah. The first year, it will go mainly to getting our software, our new server. But like I said, we would like to start rotating some of our old equipment out. And there's always the possibility of the electric on its last leg.
So the amount you're asking for is $9,322.
Motion to accept.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any other questions?
I guess the other question I got is that I know, do they need to present to judicial at some time, since they hadn't been to committee yet?
Right.
Yeah, I think if you accept it pending, I'll defer to the attorney representative, but yeah, pending judicial attendance.
I can ask the attorney and get back to you guys.
If y'all do that, that'd be good. That just makes everybody on the same page.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Aaron, with the changes that we've seen from this new list that we got tonight, will that, you run us another one for tomorrow?
Of course, yes, sir. Yeah, we will update
Or
it.
do we want to wait until after tomorrow?
Well, I'll leave that up to you guys, whether you want a clean copy at the end of tomorrow or whether you want one, cleaned up. We'll clean it up as many times as we need to, so we'll bring
Is there any reason to do it? No, let's wait till after
Sure.
tomorrow.
Okay.
Maybe save a tree or two.
Yes, sir.
All right. Is any questions or concerns from the committee?
Motion to go to recess.
Anything out here, y'all? One other motion.
Motion recess.
Motion to recess until same time tomorrow.